Hello, and you're watching BTVA's Business Nigeria, and I am Tunji Andrews. Today on the show, we will be taking a look at the fiscal sustainability of the 36 states of the Federation with Budgit. I have with me in the studio Budgit CEO Seun Onigbinde. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Tunji. It's nice being here.
Yes, it's good to have you here finally. Budgit is going to be releasing on Monday a report, State of States.
Yes, exactly.
And it's been a critical concern for a lot of people, especially as we're looking at the fact that some states have been having issues with paying salaries. We recently had to bail out a few states. Let's start from the consideration. What exactly makes a sustainable state in Nigeria, in the Nigerian context?
Okay, great. If you look at the revenue basket of each state, you find out that the biggest size comes from the federal government itself, the federal collected revenue, which is from the oil, the customs, and the corporate income taxes. Now the IGR, the value-added taxes, and also the debt service repayments. It's been clear that the biggest point that would make a sustainable state is the IGR and the value-added tax. And these are the things that we give it a larger weight, a 50% weight, when we're trying to define the methodology to talk about the fiscal sustainability. The states such as the buyers or the oil producing state, Delta and Rivers, also had some kind of percentages, like 35%, because also these are resources within their own perimeter, which they should also benefit efficiently from. But one of the things that's been clear is that a lot of states in Nigeria are not sustainable. It's a very, very clear. Close to 19 states in Nigeria are not sustainable. 19
of 36.
Exactly.
That is interesting. But let's go straight to the video wall, because we were able to put side by side revenue of a few states by their debt. Now look at Abia State. We have IGR for 2014 coming in at 12.4 billion naira, and the debt is about 25.12 billion naira. Basically, that is still not too bad. We have Adamawa also looking at IGR is 4.9 billion, but the debt is 26.4 billion.
It's a big challenge, because if you look at the states themselves, in the last 5 years, states have been pardoning the crisis by taking on more debts. Most of them, a lot of them went to the bond market.
Who is borrowing to this country? Because first of all, you need to look at the fact that they already have, Adamawa, for instance, now is already packing 26 billion as debt. The IGR is 4.9 billion. That means even if they pay everything they make in a year, outside FAC allocations, they still wouldn't make a dent in what they're owing.
And the challenge is that most of them also hold commercial banks. So most of the time you see that you think it's only coming to the bond market to take debt. No, they have commercial banks which they also have obligations to. And that's why the biggest challenge were two. One, they were running high debt service cost. And that's why the DMO had to come and say, okay, let's discount this for you. Let's buy back all these debts from the bank. Let's put it over a 20-year period. Let's give you an interest rate of 14.83%. Now, there's also the challenge of meeting the salaries of their workers. Now, we're not talking about capital infrastructure here. We've not even talked about building a school, a road.
Building hospitals, building firefighting equipment and the rest.
We have not even come to that point here. We're talking about a basic obligation of meeting the needs of your workers that went due. Now, close to 27 states could not meet that, and they had to take the bailout from the federal government. So there's a critical challenge with the states, and it looks like we're just bandaging this issue. We're not really attacking.
Keeping it for another day.
Yeah, that's exactly what we try to do.
Bayelsa also on the wall. Bayelsa is coming in at 10.9 billion IGR, but debt of 91 billion naira. Let's look at Cross River, which is one of 15 billion in revenue, but 107 billion in terms of debt.
Yeah, but Cross River took some very wrong bets. Some things that we're not really dependent on it, like Tinapa. And interestingly, it's building another 10-lane road, and I keep wondering, where is he going to get this kind of money from? It's going to be debt again. And so there's a need for them to also think through what we call self-liquidating debt. If you're taking debt, is this something that in the short term or within the tenure of the loan or the debt you're taking, can it pay back? So you take a debt to pay salaries. It's a wrong approach. You take a debt to do something. Okay, you understand you build a shopping complex for low-income people, and you understand that the revenue from that will service the debt in the lifespan of it, and that's something you could do. You don't just take them to build a road to nowhere, and at the end of the day, you can't tangibly manage and say, what's the cash flow to pay back this debt?
Okay, yeah, Rivers State. IGR 89 billion, debt stock 91 billion. I mean, that for me is fantastic. I would feel a little bit more comfortable with this because I know that if I were just to, close my eyes and pay off once, I'm almost done.
Yep, great. I think Rivers has been surprising when it comes to the IGR. They've done a lot of well to attract the oil majors to the environment. They tried to keep it a bit peaceful in the last 4 years. And on our fiscal sustainability index, Rivers actually comes first because if you have a robust FAC, being an oil-producing state, and you also have an IGR system, which, if you pair them against a state like Akwa Ibom's IGR is like 15 billion naira. And they are both beside each other. Yeah. And they could have also attracted the oil majors into those environments. And so there's a challenge in that space, and which Akwa Ibom also doesn't get. They are the highest payout from the federal collected revenue because they have the highest number of producing oil wells. But the challenge is the IGR, the take from within the state is grossly low. The same thing with Bayelsa, you've seen. The debt Bayelsa is less than the population of Alimosho local government. Yeah, and you wonder why it takes such kind of huge debt.
Then the question you want to ask is who holds these people accountable? Let's look at Kaduna, for instance. Kaduna is 6 billion in IGR, but we're talking about 16 billion in debt stock. And the governors come in, pack this debt, and they leave.
Yep.
Leaving it for the next person who inherits a debt profile, and he has to deal with paying back that debt while still servicing infrastructure development, while still paying salaries, and also he still has that political will to want to create some sort of roads or stadium to at least say he's working. I mean, isn't there some sort of fiscal responsibility agency that we have to create in Nigeria to hold these people accountable to the way they go into debt?
There's none at the federal level, because even the Constitution does not recognize that. The only thing the Constitution recognizes that all funds collected should be put in the basket and be shared. We always have
exactly. It's all about sharing.
It's about sharing, and there's nobody that there are not tough provisions when it comes to accountability and even transparency of these things. Most state governments have been very, very lazy, which is just you go to the center, you take what is your own share, and use debt to pack it up. And most of the debt are even run against projects that are not necessarily supposed to be funded by debt. Most of these are social programs that are supposed to come from taxes, because taxes are the key tools to redistribute income in a society. So, and it's this poor short-term thinking that has brought us to this point where, at this point now, most of them can't borrow again. It's not viable for commercial banks to borrow them again. And they also, the revenue from the federally collected revenue has dwindled a lot. So it's a fix. And we have come to this fix just because there are poor accountability metrics, there are poor fiscal sustainability metrics. The federal government has a Fiscal Responsibility Act that puts its debt ceiling to a particular point, that makes sure that there's some level of disclosures and accountability when it comes to its budgeting, its implementation report. That's clearly absent at states. Can you see an audited report of a state? So most governors, I hope it changes now, most governors have run their state as just like their private franchise and their private enterprises, which poor accountability.
I mean, let's look at our states now, the states we're in right now, City of Lagos. We're seeing the IGR at 276.1 billion, debt stock 68 billion in total debt stock. I mean, Lagos is strategically positioned. I mean, the ports are here.
The benefit of geography.
The geography benefits. It's land mass area directly linking up Cotonou and most of West Africa. And Lagos still benefits from it. But you still see that, you see the infrastructure development in Lagos, that you can tie that to the debt we have. And looking at it, really, I still feel, though, that with this kind of a debt stock, we should be seeing some more infrastructure. As in, we should be seeing some monorails all across Lagos State.
I think
We should be seeing some, I don't know, the waterways should be working, some sort of, for 268 billion naira.
Yeah, I think Lagos basically has done a whole lot in terms of raising revenues. But one thing that has not been effective enough is the accountability for these revenues. You have close to an average of 23 billion naira monthly. You're also going to get FAC. You also have close to 30% of VAT collection in the country goes to Lagos. By the time you look at it. So basically, you're closing close to 30 billion naira every month. And then the question is, how does this go? How does this get spent?
How does this get spent?
Your recurring expenditure is less than 10 billion naira in a month. And so you have a room of close to 21 billion naira every month.
To do whatever you need to do.
Whatever you need to do to
so
build
where does the money go?
So where does the money? So that's the question we keep asking. That's why citizens.
And I remember that Budgit tried to trigger the, what's it called now, the Freedom of Information Bill as concerns Lagos's revenue expenditure. Was that fulfilled?
No, because there's a challenge. There's a battle in that case, which some judges believe Freedom of Information Bill affects everybody across the country. And there's this legal opinion also that it's a federal law. It doesn't get
affect the states.
Yeah, so most of them, they don't respect it. But we could put that by the side, because even the relationship between the state and its citizens, the government and the citizens, should have that opportunity where citizens should know what the government is doing with their money. We're not talking about nuclear codes here. We're not talking about
it's just basic revenue and how it is being spent.
You build a school, you build a road, you build a classroom, you build on the monorail. How much does this cost? We're going to take a $200 million debt again. For what are you taking this debt?
Exactly.
So we can have more intelligent conversations around these things, and we can get government to be more efficient. Because it's time it's shown that sometimes government could be very, very foolish in the way we take, because sometimes the decisions are only driving towards short-term thinking, which is, I have 4 years, I'm going to do here, and I just have to do what I'm going to do.
By the time I leave here, people need to hail that I am the best thing that has happened since sliced bread. And instead of actually forward-term thinking. Now, there's a report that I saw over the weekend, and it scared me to bits. It's a report that talked about the fact that Nigeria will be the third largest population in the world by 2050.
Exactly.
That is 30-something years away. And I was asking the question, who is planning for this expansion? And in Lagos State, we already see the traffic congestions. I'm sure by 2050, we'll just wake up one morning and we'll come out of our houses and nobody will be able to go anywhere.
There's poor planning, and that's why we say even in the budgeting, Lagos tries to get it right a bit, where you have the budgeting and the planning ministries together. At the federal level, is even worse. The budget, it's under the Ministry of Finance, so it looks more like a resource allocation unit, when it should have been a planning unit. We need to be able to have grand plans and also be able to put resources to back them. Transport in Lagos is in chaos. Now, if we're going to double the number of automobiles we have in Lagos, there's going to be a problem. It's going to be an even bigger problem as we go on, as the lower middle class expands and people could afford a fairly used car, and they also want to commute to work and things like that. So there has to be much more improvement in how we strategically think. Must we all drive our cars? Why can't
we all live in Lagos?
Must we all live in Lagos? Why can't we just build other growth poles in other countries, in other part of the country?
All right. On Monday, State of States, the report comes out. What exactly should we be expecting from that report?
Yeah, two things. We just want to make it a bashing room. We also want to show people where are the opportunities in your state, improve your tax system, tighten your personnel cost, make sure that you also try to look for how do you create wealth. There has to be wealth before you can tax it. So a lot of people have this lame thinking, say, you want to raise IGR. You only raise IGR when you can be more efficient in your collection, or you have created wealth that can be taxed. And also because these are not quick fixes. These are things that have to be strategically thought out
over a long period
of time. If you want to go into cocoa, for example, Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, and southwest Nigeria are high in the 70s when it comes to cocoa production. The whole Ondo, Ekiti, Ocean Belt was a cocoa production belt. Now, what has happened in the next 30 years? almost nothing happens in that area anymore. And Cote d'Ivoire is aiming to be the largest, is aiming to even to 50% of global production in the next 20 years. So there's a problem that things like this won't happen in the short term. And also to talk to, and so it could be politicized because it could come in different...
It will be. This is Nigeria.
Yeah, it could come in different ways, but you find some few states coming up, like Rivers, Lagos, Enugu, and it doesn't have to. It's not about your skill. So a state like Katsina is what you're looking for because it's very low on debt. It's one of the few states that didn't need a bail. In fact, there was this talk that the state governor just took out bailout just because he felt he wants to come to the party.
Just as, I mean, probably as compensation or payment for doing a good job.
Yeah, I'm from the home state of the president, so I cannot just look away from this party. So Katsina has a low debt, a low recurrent expenditure, has a realistic budget, and so it comes on top in that kind of regard. Enugu also has been a very well managed state in the fiscal approach. So, but you find states like Bayelsa dropping behind a lot because you have a very low population. You get a huge kind of revenue, but on the side you also have a huge kind of debt, poor IGR and things
So
like that.
basically we will be looking out for State of States that it will be dropping on Monday, so you could basically follow that. Thank you very much, Seun, for being with us. The CEO of Budgit. Yes, thank you very much for joining us. It's a wrap on the show, and this is me, Tunji Andrews, and I'm saying keep doing business, Nigeria.